It's time for Hostel Discourse. Here's your host, David Rolfing.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 20 of Hostel Discourse. We have an exciting American-themed episode tonight. We wanted to just take this episode and dedicate it to the country we all live in and love because of all the division and issues that have been going on. But we're going to take a look at the important aspects of this country like sports, fast food, and states.
Do we really love this country that much then?
Yes, Jared. We love it for what it is.
Okay.
It's unconditional.
But before we get into it, let me introduce you to tonight's guests. First with me here in Tulsa, Drake Norman, back from episode 2. That was such a long time ago.
I know. What's up, people?
And back, as always, Jacob Hunter, also in Tulsa.
Hello.
And Jared Cozart.
Hey, gang.
And back again from Oklahoma City, Joe Kuiper.
Hey, everybody.
All right, so we're going to start off tonight's episode with a brand new segment that we like to call Open Season. So this was Jared's idea, and he's going to take the first stand. It's going to go something like this. Jared gives his hot take on whatever topic he wants to talk about. The rest of us can choose to either disagree or agree with him, but he's there, all out there on his own, out in the field like a little fawn ready to be sniped from the tree perch. That's why we call it Open Season.
Wow.
What topic did you choose for this evening on this inaugural segment of Open Season?
Guns loaded, Jared.
Well, first of all, I'm excited to start us off here. I'm a little not excited to be the fawn out in the field here, but we're throwing it back to Drake's episode on the show and probably the quintessential debate in the hostel, and that is athleticism. I'll just jump right in. I've had some new thoughts about athleticism and how to define it. I've made up a new definition, and it goes something like this. Athleticism is defined by how quickly somebody can learn an athletic skill, and it's not defined by how much athletic skill they actually have. I try to quantify this whole thing, so I've made a couple equations. The first equation for athleticism itself is athleticism is equal to athletic skill divided by time spent practicing. So we want athleticism to be as natural of a metric as possible. Otherwise, we're just measuring practice. And that's not what we go for in our debates and stuff. Okay, so before I jump into the next part of the equation, let me make an analogy to intelligence to see if this helps us get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So anybody can learn anything, okay? I've got a math minor, and I'm learning calculus.
Ooh.
And I'd say it's surprising. And I wouldn't call myself a math person necessarily, but I'm going to graduate with a math minor because I'm working hard and I'm practicing at it. But that doesn't make me that intelligent. That just means I worked hard at it. The person that is the most intelligent is the one in the math class that just picks things up quickly and gets the ideas faster than everybody else and with more ease than everybody else, right? So like I can end up maybe in the same spot as the person that picks it up really quickly, but it'll only be because I practiced more and did more homework problems and stuff like that. But the fact that he learned faster and was able to understand more than I could with 0 time spent practicing makes him more intelligent. Okay, it's exactly the same for athleticism, except now we're not measuring how much we know, we're measuring athletic skills we can do. So here is probably the more important formula for athleticism, and it's modeling skill as a function of time spent practicing. So I say that skill is equal to alpha times the square root of time spent practicing plus C. All right, everybody got that? Alpha is some constant multiplier of the square root of time spent practicing, and C is some constant that is the y-intercept for the function. So if you can picture it graphically,
I'm sorry, but I can't.
Okay, well, I'll do my best to explain it. The square root function is an ever-increasing function, so the more you practice, the better you will get, but it's ever increasing at a decreasing rate, and so the better you get, the harder it is to get better. So this, I think this makes sense so far. Surely nobody would disagree with me yet. Let's take golf, for example. It's easier to knock 4 strokes off of your game. You know, I golf at like 100 and something. It's easier for me to get from 100 to 96 than it is from 96 to 92, and so on and so on and so on. And it's much harder to get from 76 to 72. So as you get better, it gets harder to get better. So then this is probably most applicable in comparing people's athleticisms. So you can take two random people. The great thing about this is that you can actually quantify it if you spent a freakish amount of time keeping track of their skills in a ton of different sports. You could take two different people and you could say, with zero practice, who is naturally better? So that will determine the C value and the Y-intercept where they start. And then who gets better faster, and that'll determine the alpha value. And it is part of my theory that the more athletic person will have a higher alpha and a higher C value. So they will be naturally better with zero practice than the other person, and they will learn faster than the other person. And so that's the idea. And as it relates to the athleticism debate, the most athletic sport debate that we've had before on this podcast, unfortunately, it provides no conclusive proof of anything, but it does give us a different way of thinking about athleticism. And so, for example, in the past, Jacob has been very firmly believed that golfers are the best athletes, or at least that golf is the sport that requires the most athleticism, which I think are probably the same thing. You think so, Jacob?
No.
Okay. Now, with this model, we can say, and I forgot one important thing. The way you would figure out athleticism overall is you would take athletic skills from a bunch of different sports or different skills or whatever. So you could take golf skill, you could take, speed, 100-meter dash or something. You could take strength, you could take, shooting basketballs or something like that, and a bunch of different things. And then you add them all up and you get like a composite curve. And that would be that person's total athleticism. Okay. So in comparing athleticism between golfers and, say, basketball players, Jacob relies on the fact that golfers are so skilled, they are so coordinated at this golf swing, that coordination in their golf swing is greater than the sum of all other athletic qualities that other sports require. But then you take this equation and you say, wait a minute, you could graph it out and you say, golfers are this good at golf because they've practiced so much. And if you took somebody like Michael Jordan and you gave him the same amount of practice time as a professional golfer had, he's probably going to be just as good as they are at golf. Okay, and Jacob might refute that, and he might even be right. But remember that it's the composite of adding up all athletic qualities together. And so the golfer may have a steeper curve than Michael Jordan when it comes to golf. But when it comes to everything, you add them up, MJ is going to have the higher alpha value, the higher C value, and thus be more athletic than any of the golfers would. So it's not conclusive, but that's the idea. I want to hear your thoughts.
Very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I have worked pretty hard on that. I have doodled in my notebooks in class these graphs and this equation many times.
Listening to it, this is kind of the second time I've heard this idea. I said I agreed with it last time, and I definitely do agree with some aspects of it. I don't agree with the conclusions that you ended up with, and I think we end up disagreeing on the same points we end up disagreeing on beforehand, which makes it not as exciting. But I think the idea of breaking down the different components of athleticism is the most important part when you want to compare athletes. And I think you and I would go about it completely different ways. And that's just another almost impossible question. So I bet if we tried to exhaust that argument, we would just end up agreeing to disagree. But I guess kind of the two problems I have are with your first equation you brought up, that's not really a function so much as it is it's really just a function of the person's convenience, I guess. When time was the only function of that first curve you brought up, that basically means athleticism is just it's one value. It's like you could quantify it to one number, basically. Did you just present two competing ideas for athleticism, or was the second one your more developed version that you actually think is true?
Well, the second one, the skill equals alpha square root time spent practicing plus C. That
gotcha. Okay.
I stand by that one. But then so this athleticism equals skill over time spent practicing is not like a curve that I'm graphing out and saying or even using to model in any way, other than saying that we must account for time when deciding athleticism. If the alpha value, the C value is higher, and if one's higher, then the other will be higher under my theory. Then that's the person that's more athletic. Or thought about graphically, the person that's more athletic will have a higher curve than the person that's less athletic, and they'll never intersect. And so it's easy to see from that second graph who's the more athletic person.
The only other thing I'd say is I think because in America, the theme of our night, I think in America we have an overemphasis on strength-based sports. I think skill gets a bad rep. So I feel like, just the idea of aggregating all sports or athletic qualities, I think the typical American mind might be conditioned to just think that there's way more value in strength than there is skill, and I refute that, and I want to make that clear and on the record.
Jacob is above such typical
I didn't say I'm above
minds.
it. I just said I'm enlightened. That's all.
I kind of agree with you there, Jacob. The aggregate athleticism curve, I think it's kind of hard to combine skill sports and time it took to practice to get to a certain level in skill sports compared to feats of the human body like specific strengths or high jump or sprint, because skill sports are such a detailed combination of all those different things at tiny levels. I don't know. I feel like the aggregate athleticism curve, combining every kind of sport plus the specific human feat sports, is a little bit tricky there.
I would also to further that point, use the illustration that you used about intelligence, in saying that you could figure out, how intelligent someone is based on how fast they learn something. But I think that the variables there are pretty high, in that certain people, if you tested them a week after they studied something, they might have learned such and such. And then you might test them a year later and one person has a better long-term memory. Or if you took 3 people and tried one in a creative problem-solving situation, one might do better versus one who does math versus one who memorizes facts. Like, I think there's just so many facets of intelligence, and likewise, I think there's so many facets of athleticism that you would be hard-pressed to practically get a composite curve for that. But I would also argue that in terms of theory, I think that your theorem holds quite a bit of water, and I like it. But I just think practically it would be hard.
That is literally the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Probably the only nice thing I'll ever say to you.
Yeah, I know.
Jared, I have a question.
Yeah, Drake, what you got?
So for this second equation of yours, would you say that works better just if you're looking at who's a better athlete, or are you trying to think of more of what's the more athletic sport? Because it seems like it's more towards an athlete instead of figuring out, basketball's more athletic because if you look at this curve.
Yeah, it's definitely geared more towards individual athletes, but the way I would use it to apply it to the sports debate is, I think we've all kind of agreed that like the most athletic sport is the sport that the most athletic people play.
I used to think that, and I have since found out what I actually think.
Okay.
Congratulations.
What a discovery.
Would you like me to say it? Okay. No, it is the most athletic sport is the one that has the highest possible ceiling of athleticism. Basically saying like, what is the most athletic thing you can do in that sport, and then comparing the most athletic things in all sports and finding which one is the most athletic. Because it's basically your total potential in that sport and what would allow for the greatest feat of physical human accomplishment in a competition. And that's what athleticism is to me.
Are you saying that you would boil down all sports to one thing, their most athletic quality in that sport?
If you're trying to find out which sport is the most athletic, yeah.
That is a convenient definition for golf.
No, well,
and wouldn't the best way to quantify that be take the best athlete in that sport still, though? I mean, I feel like it's not
that's
that
the thing
different.
is because in team sports, you're only doing it relevant to the opposing team, and that's why golf is the most athletic sport, is because you're setting yourself up against an objective and almost impossible task.
I mean, you could say the same thing about any sport. In any sport, even though you're playing against other human players, like you're still playing against a scoreboard, essentially. Mm-hmm. There's still records of scores to beat. The same thing golf goes by.
And a big thing a lot of golfers have gone by is that their opponent is the course, and that every course is different, and so you have a different opponent every time. which is just like saying you're playing a different team.
And golf is not the only individual sport.
It's the only individual sport that was brought
Golf
up in
sucks.
the debate that we had.
I did gymnastics.
I did too.
Touché.
I did gymnastics when I was in first grade.
No, Drake argued for gymnastics.
No, I argued for gymnastics. I'm not randomly saying, I
by
did
the way-
gymnastics. I know it has nothing to do with this, but
I think there's a lot to dig into on the idea of maybe like individual sports not ever being actually that, or like golf maybe not being objective. But the idea I have in my head is if you played the perfect possible round of golf, meaning like every shot you hit that was outside of the range, like was where the hole was too far away, you hit it as close as you possibly could. And every time the hole was in range of what you could possibly hit, you made it. I think if that happened, it would be the greatest thing a human had ever done, physically.
There's no... You can't say that's greater than somebody every time they got their hand on a basketball made a 3-point shot from around the court the whole game. Like,
The thing about something like basketball or football is like the perfect game in basketball means you would have like every rebound, every point, you'd steal the ball. Like your stat line would be like 150 and 50 and 20. It's impossible to say like if impossibility in choosing is what you're saying earlier, then like it's impossible to compare what has the higher ceiling.
I don't know if I agree, but I think maybe that'll be my open season night when it rolls around.
yeah.
I will get out my 22 and put you in the scope, my friend.
We definitely didn't solve the most athletic sport question, but I really think you did a good job, Jared, at addressing the definition of athleticism, which is something we addressed in episode 2.
Thank you.
Jacob in that episode said, athleticism is the act of pushing the physical abilities of the human body in a competition setting. We kind of disagreed with him and said that it's more about physical attributes of like speed and agility and stuff. I don't think either of those are right. I think that your equation is more accurate, even though it's hard to test, but I think it's a good idea in general.
I actually don't even think it's that hard to test. I mean, like, it would take time, but it'd be pretty easy to quantify. Like, you could use, like, 5 sports as just a proxy. You could use golf and basketball and football and then, I mean, maybe some other things. And then you could add in, like, speed and jumping and stuff like that. I don't think it'd be that hard. So for me, I'm a novice golfer, and I think the stat I would use for golf for skill would probably be, like, pars or better per round. And I would just start now, and it wouldn't be a complete picture because I wouldn't be starting at 0 practice. But I could just keep track of my training, and I could coach, and I would try to deliberately get better with good practice and track my progress over years or something. And then I could have enough data points to make the curve. And, it wouldn't be too hard, I don't think, to actually quantify it. Anyway, I'm glad you agree.
Yes.
Drake, what do you say?
yeah, I agree. Also, if you want to use a guinea pig for this, to test this, you could use Anna.
That's true.
She's just started.
She's a great...
And
She's the most natural athlete of all of us.
Yeah.
it is pretty shocking.
The most natural athlete?
This is, by the way...
I was going to go with athletic, and I was like, that didn't make sense. So athlete.
This is Drake's girlfriend, Anna. And for like her 3rd time golfing ever, she averaged a bogey a hole, which is pretty remarkable, I think.
It was a par 3 course, and 3rd time ever. I was shocked. I mean, she had a birdie, which is I definitely did not do by my 3rd time. And the funny thing is, her best club is her driver, and she didn't even get to use it. She has, I think, 5 or 6 total clubs that she got to use, and some of them didn't even fit her that well. I was very impressed. But anyways, Jared, so for your equation, I like it a lot. Sure, there's maybe some things that could be a little off on it, but yeah, of course. But I mean, as an engineer, I like having equations to work off of. I think it makes it a little bit more concrete. So yeah, I like it a lot.
Thank you, Drake. Joe?
Yeah, I told you I agree. Like, same thing Drake said. Great in theory, be difficult in practice unless you did like a composite with a large sample size. But yeah, I like it. Being in medicine, I also like figures and graphs.
Equations? You like equations? Yeah. You're a doctor?
You'd be surprised on the
I would be surprised.
equations we have to learn. This garbage in med school.
Okay, I think it's time to move on to the debate segment. I gathered some debate winning stats from episode 1 through 19, starting with Cole, Drake, Chris, Tanner, Danny, Paige, and Noah, all with 1 win.
Yeah.
And then Jared is next with 3 wins and 2 trivia tiebreakers.
The people know that that's a snub of the greatest level.
Does that mean 2 of his wins came from trivia playoffs?
No, the debate ones are separate from the trivia.
Gotcha.
Then next is me with 7 wins, 7 debate wins, 1 trivia tiebreaker, and then tied for first, Joe and Jacob with 8 debate wins.
Oh, shoot.
This is great. I have twice the opportunities Joe has to win today.
That is true. I regret this judging thing.
Yeah.
Also, we got to put
Actually, forget you heard that.
We got to put a little asterisk next to Jared's win because he said penny's worth or butter's worth. Sorry.
Yeah.
For who?
Should I have that one? I don't know.
Oh man, I do not regret that at all.
I can't believe I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, time for debate number 1. Joe will be judging this. What is the greatest fast food chain in America?
All right, I will take over. So, same thing as usual. You're each going to start with your opening statements. We'll go around. After that, we'll have a brief little open season. Don't want to steal away from the name of our new segment, but a little free range period. And then after that, we'll do our little closing arguments. All right. So if anyone would like to start, please feel free. The floor is open for opening statements.
Okay, I'll start. When you think fast food, you think one thing.
Burger King.
McDonald's.
Chick-fil-A.
You think
Taco
Big
Bell.
Mac. You think McNuggets. You think Happy Meal. McDonald's is by far the largest, literally the greatest fast food chain across the entire globe. It is the second largest private employer in the world, only behind Walmart, which almost isn't fair. But McDonald's is such a behemoth of a company. It has become ingrained in not just American culture, but cultures across the world. And for that reason, I think it is the quintessential fast food chain and therefore the greatest fast food chain in America.
Who would like to go second?
I would, Joe.
All right, David, take it away.
Okay, great as far as fast food goes. For me, is more of a personal experience of greatness and how I enjoy the fast food. My choice is Chick-fil-A, and I think fast food greatness can be categorized by fast service, amazing taste, healthy options for a cheap price. And I think that Chick-fil-A is a leader in all of these, and that's what makes it great. Just this morning, I got an email for another free Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit for breakfast. I get one every month. And I also got a personal video message from my branch manager, David Chen. And he told me why he works at Chick-fil-A as the operational manager. He said it's because he wants to make an impact on, quote, impact on his team members, guests, and community. And I really feel that when I'm in Chick-fil-A. So that's why Chick-fil-A is the greatest.
Drake or Jared, one of you?
Okay, I'll go. To me, the greatest would definitely would be Taco Bell. And the reasons for that are a little bit more similar to David's, but a little different. In that I like the food. I don't know what that says about my taste and quality, but it's fast food. So in my opinion, fast food, if you think of it, you're not going for amazing quality. You're not going for gourmet food. You're going for something that's fast, that's cheap, that is comfort food. And I think that is something that Taco Bell definitely represents. They are always open, super easy to go to, have a large menu with a bunch of different varieties, something that everybody likes. A shocking thing that you wouldn't think I would argue about for Taco Bell is that they actually have a surprisingly large number of healthy options for a fast food restaurant.
Fake news.
No, not fake. It has actually risen and is one of the healthier options now. For example, since 2008, Their sodium has reduced by 15%, and this year they're reducing it by 10% more. They have a new low-calorie fresco menu. They plan to eliminate XL size sodas by the end of the year. So they are making progress. But overall, my main points are that it's cheap, available at any time for food that you will enjoy. And you won't ever run into issues like you do in other fast food restaurants, which I will bring up in later on in this argument.
Okay, Jared.
Greatness in the restaurant business means two things, boys, and two things only. It means a great menu
and
a great nickname. So
a great nickname.
Let me expand. Dadgummit, I'm so upset I didn't get through that. I thought it was gonna be the moneymaker.
Expand, Jared.
Dadgummit. All right, here we go. Great menu, great nickname, boys.
What is the nickname? I don't.
So we're
Is
all
there
familiar
some
with the
reference
menu-
you're-
We're all familiar with the menu items.
You haven't even revealed your pick yet.
All right.
What is your pick?
My pick is Burger King.
Oh, there we go.
All right. We're all familiar
Good job.
with the menu. Damn it.
Hey, child friendly.
I'm sorry, child. Dang it. All right. The Whopper, the chicken fries, the slushies. Have you ever tried chicken fries? All right,
Joe, I think it's been 30 seconds.
Whatever. Its nickname is the BK. Its nickname is
Get to your point. What's the nickname?
the BK Lounge. All right, it's the BK Lounge. That's my opening statement. Jeez.
Great. That was
Oh my
hardly
goodness.
worth the wait.
Yikes.
Okay.
Woo.
All right. Thank you for your opening statements, especially Jared. Great stuff. Now let's move on to basically a little free for all. Feel free to tackle whoever you'd like, and whoever would like to start can go ahead.
Okay, I'll go with one thing. So at the end of my opening statement, I kind of talked about how they have everything available at any time. An issue I have with McDonald's, I go there a lot. I go to Taco Bell a lot. It is disturbing how many times I've had fast food over the past few years. I came to college at like about 150, 155, exited at 185.
True fast food connoisseur.
That's a problem. But I am addressing that now, and that's okay. Anyways, so with that experience, I have learned a lot about McDonald's. And a thing that has always frustrated me is at nighttime, you can go to McDonald's, and a thing that they are very good at, which I think they have a great option, is their shakes. If you really want to shake at night and you go to McDonald's, you cannot get one because every single place will say that their machine is out of order. I don't know if you've ever tried this at night, but it has happened every single time I've gone. And I've had a lot of other people say this as well. And, the first couple times I thought, man, this is just an unfortunate coincidence. But it's happened so many times that I don't think it's a coincidence. And there was a time this summer I was with my brother and my brother-in-law, and we really wanted some McDonald's shakes. I said I'd go out and get some for us. So I drove out to one McDonald's, and they said it was out of order. So I said, okay, I'll go to the next one. Out of order. Third one, out of order. Fourth one, out of order. And a fifth one, out of order.
Commitment.
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh, yes. I'm telling you. 30 pounds, people. 30 pounds. Anyways, I don't think it is just randomly out of order at night for, that I've been incredibly unfortunate in my years of experience. It has happened too many times that I believe it is just laziness. And I think that is an issue when it comes to fast food. And I know fast food is already lazy. So why make it lazier by just having one of the best things on the menu be out of order at night? When you're going for fast food, that's not good, not good for you. You're going to get a lot of people, late night people coming in to get that fourth meal for themselves. And you're not going to be able to get that to the best of the abilities at somewhere like McDonald's. Whereas Taco Bell, you'll get that almost any time. And they have one of the best things that everybody loves, Baja Blast.
Well, they don't have milkshakes, do they?
That's true. They don't have milkshakes.
I'm just saying,
The
the issue is you can get your favorite thing at Taco Bell at any time.
Not a milkshake.
you can't drive through every time.
Why you say that?
Drive through closes at 11.
As
No, it
if.
doesn't.
Yeah, the one on 11th closes at 11.
No, it does not.
No way, dude.
Then why was it closed last time I tried to drive through at 11?
I don't know. I definitely have gone there 1,000 times at 1 o'clock.
Well, it's
me.
the same idea that I have also had some bad experiences with a fast food chain.
That's not a bad experience, though. That is every time experience. The same thing happens.
Right, but...
That's just not an unfortunate happening. That is, I think, a thing just throughout McDonald's.
But there are almost 37,000 McDonald's.
Okay,
It's
and I'm not the only person that said this.
generalization.
This is not a thing that I'm just saying, though. This is a thing that a lot of people have said.
It's kind of a meme. It's just the milkshake thing. You're saying you can't get a milkshake at a very certain time, so it's one certain thing on the menu.
One of the best things on the menu. A thing that everybody loves there are their fries and their shakes.
Okay, I think we've stressed that point enough. I want to elaborate on why Chick-fil-A is great. I think that it surpasses all of your options by far in quality, service, and many other things. But as far as quality goes, every single Chick-fil-A branch I've been to across the country has always been clean. They've always been playing piano covers of Christian worship songs, just very peaceful music. The bathrooms are clean. The service is always amazing. Every employee is just being pleasurable.
Oh, my pleasure.
Every employee is
going to the wrong Chick-fil-A's.
They're filled with pleasure.
They're filled with every Chick-fil-A employee is filled with pleasure to serve you. It's just incredible. They have the Chick-fil-A One app where I get a free sandwich every month. I happen to have 3 accounts, so I can get 3 free sandwiches every month.
Jeez.
Which is, it's like $15 a month. It's such a good deal. I would highly recommend it.
Cheetah.
And my local branch, I get emails from the manager like I did today with some heartwarming videos from him talking about his family. It's great. I have a quote from an employee who worked there. I worked in a crummy mall location, and even there, I was surprised at the cleanliness and the methods that were in place at our location. I worked all positions and still ate there after I left, which is not what I can say for all places that I've worked. If you ask for a revision to your order, no pickles, no extra pickles, no butter, they make you a fresh sandwich instead of serving one from the warmer. Much better quality. They treat their employees well. Even the employees eat lunch there. They get free food for their lunch, 1 meal per shift. I just feel like the overall quality of Chick-fil-A is what makes it great. And I feel like why it's exploded over the past 5 to 10 years, however long it's been. So some more points why Chick-fil-A is the greatest.
I'm jumping in this thing, Judge.
Go for it.
But mine's going to be more of a critique. Since Chick-fil-A was most recently talked about, I'll just stick with that. Clearly, the biggest blemish on Chick-fil-A's, resume is the fact that it's closed on Sunday. At least at Taco Bell or McDonald's, I can get what I want when I want it all week. And Chick-fil-A is not the case. In fact, isn't it true that when we want Chick-fil-A most, we look up Sunday, can't have it? That's a glaring blemish on its resume compared to actually the other 3.
It's also not open 24 hours.
Yeah. The thing about Taco Bell is, Drake, you're spouting off all these healthy things and all this stuff. 15% reduction. A 15% reduction in unhealthy stuff at Taco Bell puts them only slightly closer to being not the least healthy restaurant that exists. So the 15%, 10% reduction in sodium and stuff like this, I'd like to see some stats relative to other restaurants, not just relative to itself. It can be improving and it can still be the worst.
Jared, you want to see some stats? The stats that I read said that Burger King had the highest fat and sodium on breakfast, salads, and burgers. So Burger King was the unhealthiest on a lot of the charts I saw.
Hey, look, listen to me. Did I say one thing about health in my opening statement? No. I said 2 things and 2 things only, boys. All right? And Drake's the one bringing up health, so I'm trying to beat him at his own game here. Burger King equals McDonald's. They're the exact same restaurant, but here's the difference. Burger King doesn't have shake problems ever. You ever heard of anybody complaining about the shake machine at Burger King? No. And they're exactly the same. There's no difference. So,
except for a great nickname.
Except for the dadgum great nickname. And that's what I'm saying. So, look, they've all tried to make their cases. I've disproven them. But my 2 criteria that I've set forth, I hold to be true. Now, let me expand real quick because I didn't get it out the first time. Burger King's nickname is the BK Lounge. Okay? Hey, Jacob, what's McDonald's nickname?
Mickey D's, the Golden Arches.
Lame. Hey, David, what's Chick-fil-A's nickname?
Chick.
Lame. Drake. Taco Bell's.
T-Bell.
Lame. Oh my gosh. Okay, BK Lounge, far and away the best nickname.
I've never even heard that nickname before.
No, you haven't. You never heard of it. It was from one Dave Cook stand-up bit, and it's not even that funny. It goes on for like 5 minutes, and it's only funny for the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, but it's too long. It's way too long. It should never be considered
as part of how great.
But look, that's his nickname. Now, let me get into some of the iconic items on the menu.
Gosh.
Remember, it's nickname and its menu. On the menu, maybe you'll recognize the Whopper.
Okay.
The quintessential burger in fast food.
The quintessential burger. Okay.
How about chicken fries? You guys familiar with those?
Are you?
I'm serious. Chicken fries are the greatest invention that maybe man has ever done.
We already had that episode.
Burger King. Okay. And this is what I was trying to say in my opening statement, but I couldn't get it out. You got chicken fries, you got slushies, you got chicken fries dipped in slushies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? You can't beat it. All right, that's my case.
I just wanted to add a fun little thing. I saw a list one time of nicknames, just random ones that somebody made up. McDonald's was McDone Bones. Love it. Taco Bell was Taco Baco. Burger King was Bub Kerkerg. Unfortunately, didn't have a Chick-fil-A one. But
even in the made-up nicknames, it's the best one. Bub Kerkerg.
I love McDone Bones and Taco Baco more, though.
All right, here's the thing. A 2016 study found the average wait times for the major fast food chains in America. You got McDonald's at 208 seconds per drive-through. Taco Bell, 220 seconds. You got Chick-fil-A at 257 seconds. I thought this was fast food, people. Plus, Chick-fil-A is by far the most expensive expensive fast food chain that any of us have mentioned. I'll say Burger King was 7 seconds faster than McDonald's, but the notion that the Whopper is more iconic than the Big Mac, that chicken fries are more iconic than the McNuggets, that they have anything that is even as cool as the Happy Meal is just ludicrous. None of these are staples of the American experience or the Chinese experience, and none of them are as great as the Great Golden Arches, McDonald's itself. Oh, and by the way, if we want to talk just about greatness of food, I first of all think that the McGriddle is a feat of technological culinary accomplishment.
Of chemistry.
Yeah, it is amazing. It is the most. You get the same amount of flavor of each aspect of the sandwich with every bite. It is amazing. The creator of the Big Mac, Mike Delegati, God rest his soul, he passed away November 30th of 16. He worked on developing the Big Mac for 4 years. There is some real science behind this food. And another reason why it's the greatest fast food chain in America.
All right. Jacob, would you like that to be your final statement, or do you have something else you'd like to plug?
No. What I'd like to say is David's argument is totally personal and very emotional. It's not trying to make any objective or comparative standards by any means. He could have never eaten at another restaurant and had the same opinion. Drake's Taco Bell is not as fast as McDonald's, and it's not as big as McDonald's. There's not as many things on the menu. And with Burger King, it is just basically the younger cousin of McDonald's. Isn't as big and isn't as iconic.
I'd like to go next.
Sounds good.
Okay, so to address Jacob and Jared's points against Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A isn't open on Sundays. It's not open 24 hours a day, but I think that's for a good purpose. You don't get crappy service and crappy food late at night from employees who look like they want to throw your drink at you through your window when you pull through the drive-thru. There's just a trade-off there for quality and service. And I don't want to get food at 3 a.m. anyways from Chick-fil-A. Second, all of your choices. When I eat there, I feel sick. When I eat at Chick-fil-A, I don't feel gross like I do at these other fast food chains. And that's because of the quality. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but you get a filling, more healthy meal than you do at these other three places. And Well, you said the Big Mac took 4 years to develop. The Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich recipe took 5 years to develop from the family recipe, the grandma, whoever did it. I just read that today. So, boom, more research went into the Chick-fil-A sandwich. And it probably has 5 times less chemicals in it, carcinogenic chemicals, might I add, than the Big Mac.
You made that up.
Yeah, I don't know if
That
I
last
can accept that random guess.
I'll go next. Jared, just a quick thing about the health. I wasn't saying that the 15% makes it healthy, like super healthy. I'm saying they're showing progress. The thing that makes it healthier is their health, like their fresco menu. That's what it's called. That has a bunch of options. Jacob, about the number of options on the menu, I'm quite confident that Taco Bell has a larger menu. And they also have a large number of monthly specials. So they're always getting more new things that people enjoy. But anyways, for my closing statement, yeah, I'd just like to emphasize that you can have it at any time, which I know you can with Taco Bell, with McDonald's, and you can have with Burger King. But it is a place that you can always rely on, and it is incredibly cheap. Also, one thing I didn't mention earlier that I would like to is if you've been to a Taco Bell inside, then you should understand what I'm saying with this is the coin game they have on the counter is a great idea. It is an excellent idea because you can put a nickel, a dime, a quarter, which is something you probably will never use and will almost never use. I use them actually a good amount with like tolls and things like that. But you will often never use or you'll lose. And you can use that to play a mini game to potentially win something like a taco or a burrito or those cinnamon twists or nachos, which I think is a great idea. And I think it's a cool thing to add to a fast food restaurant.
All right, Jared, give us your argument.
All right, Joe. 3 quick points against all you guys. You self-defeat yourselves in some way, each of you. For example, Jacob cites speed as one of his defining metrics of greatness, and McDonald's isn't even faster than Burger King. David cites service as one of his defining metrics of greatness, and granted, on a per day basis, Chick-fil-A service is better than the other 3, but they're closed one day of the week, and so that's an offset in service. They don't even have the chance to serve me on one day, so it actually cancels out there. And that leaves Taco Bell. Drake's talking about health. Drake's talking about milkshakes. Taco Bell has neither. And I'll finish with this.
Are you crying?
I'm the only one here who clearly defined the criteria for greatest restaurant, fast food restaurant in America, and demonstrated that my restaurant met that criteria and exceeded it. So I think I deserve to win this debate.
Well, okay. Jared, you really do a great job of setting criteria before your arguments. I admire that. But I cannot, with good conscience, let you win that argument after the points you made. A good nickname makes it a great restaurant, a great fast food restaurant. And quality, which I don't think you even have to have eaten at Burger King that many times to know that that's not true.
I never said quality. I said greatness. I said great nickname, great menu. 2 things.
Okay, well. I'm sorry, Jared, but.
What are you saying, Joe?
I'm saying you get 4th.
Oh my gosh. The listeners will know. They will rise up against us. All right.
They might.
That's okay.
Man, I hope the listeners do not agree with you this time, because if so, Anyway, 3rd place, though. I'm actually going to give it to Jacob.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I know.
Wow.
I think Drake's point about McD shakes and
you can win a hostile discourse debate on anecdotal evidence. I'm convinced.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to anyway. Brings us to David and Drake. Don't get me wrong, Jacob. You were a close 3rd. In fact, these top 3 were all pretty close.
Okay, hey, take it easy.
And there's Jared.
Take it easy. And by the way, Joe just wants to make sure that if he's not going to be the one with the most wins after tonight, that he has a chance to defend himself.
So convinced.
Yeah, well, Jared, then I should have gave it to you because you only have 2 wins.
You're right. And another reason you made a mistake, but continue.
Okay. Man, Drake, you gave a valiant effort, but I'm going to have to go with David.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Boo. You're just trying to be a good Christian because it's Chick-fil-A.
Christian of you.
Oh, geez. No, I think you made really good points. And, like, honestly, man, it really probably... Maybe it should have gone to Taco Bell. I don't really know, but I've made my decision.
Decisive judge.
Indecisive,
but
thank you, Joe.
Nevertheless. And that also actually brings David into a tie with Jacob and I. Therefore,
you are a fool.
Also, probably shouldn't have made that decision. But
yeah, I only had 1.
Yeah, that's how it's going to be. I mean, Taco Bell probably is a better embodiment of fast food, but the quality of Chick-fil-A is pretty astounding. Anyway, that's a decision. Sorry to those who lost.
Thanks for judging. Okay, that leads us to debate number 2. What is the most American state? So I will start off with opening statements. Keep it around 30 seconds. Let's start with Jared, the loser.
All right, that's how I'm known around these parts. Okay, the most American state. Again, you must establish criteria. The criteria for the most American state, determining what American even means in this context, is the state that is the most representative of America as a whole. Okay? And this is not just demographics, although demographics are certainly included, but it's also geographics, culture, history, etc. When you take all these things in consideration together, it turns out that North Carolina is the state most representative of the United States and thus the most American. I'll expand later.
Okay, thank you. How about Joe? You're next.
Most American state definitely does require some criteria set for what makes it American. And in my case, I'm going to tell you that Iowa is the greatest American state on the criteria of being 3 things. First, it has to value freedom. Second, it has to value hard work. And third, it has to value politics, which are a crucial part of America. And as an added 4th, there's also this other category, which I think really embodies America. And I'll get to each of those in turn in my later argument.
I know the 4th one's going to be lame.
No, it won't. Trust me.
Karn.
What more do you need?
Okay, how about Drake?
Okay, so when I was thinking about what state is the most American, I was trying to think of what defines a state as being the most American. And I think there's a bunch of different ways you can define it. But the way that I think more accurately is just what state loves America the most. And I think 2 things that go into loving America are your involvement and your military engagement. And Virginia is incredibly high in both of those. And if you combine them, they are the highest. Virginia is also a very historic state, has a lot of history behind it. And with those things combined, I think it is the most American state.
Okay, Jacob.
I took a similar approach to Jared in just saying that what makes a state the most American is just how much like America it is, how similar it is to its country. And my first step was thinking of which state had the most America in it. And
Alaska.
Yeah, by size, by land, it's Alaska, but I think the amount of people is so small that knocks it to about probably pretty close to the median. And there's California.
What's the median?
California is so weird and so disconnected from the real heartland American culture that
you are so close-minded.
Anyway,
amen.
It leaves me with my homeland, and I'm a simple man. When my homeland calls me to its aid, I answer. Say, what's up? It's Jacob. Texas is the most American state because it is the most like America, and I can't wait to show you exactly how.
Okay. Show me how. All of you with your rebuttals open to all.
I'll go ahead. Okay, so I mentioned a few ways that a state could resemble or be like America as a whole. I'll focus on demographics, geographics, history, and culture. So let's start with geography. How about? So North Carolina has almost everything in regards to this country's geography. It lacks the southwestern stuff and a little bit of plains, but as far as one state that encompasses the most geography that it can of America, North Carolina does it the best. It has beaches, it has mountains. You can both ski in this state and go to the beach. That's pretty amazing. It has forests, rivers, lakes. It's a very diverse natural state, geographic state. And so its diversity makes it uniquely representative of America's geographic diversity as well. This is a complete side point, but I found this in my research. Over 1,000 ships have sunk off the shores of North Carolina since like the late 1500s, including Queen Anne's Revenge, Blackbeard's ship.
What's your point?
Wow,
Interesting.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Okay, let's get to demographics.
How about you do that?
So part of America's identity is that of the melting pot. And so what we're going to find from all my opponent states is that they're far from the melting pot of culture and of ethnicity specifically. North Carolina is 68% white. That's the lowest percent out of all the states here. I mean, the important part of that number is the melting pot aspect. That crucial part of America's identity is present in North Carolina's identity.
I'm sorry, you're saying North Carolina has the lowest percentage of white people of any state in America?
Of the four states that we're debating. And so there's the melting pot. Then there's also politics. And North Carolina is a swing state, and there is almost an even number of Democrats and Republicans in North Carolina. In fact, in their last governor election in 2016, where's the stat? 48.8% of voters voted Republican. 49% of voters voted Democrat. That's a 0.2% difference. So the political ideology of the country is almost equally represented in North Carolina. And then, of course, you've got the mix, the representative mix of urban area with rural area. North Carolina has a bit of both. Almost done. Let's get to history. North Carolina, of course, was one of the 13 original colonies. Only Virginia can say that out of the other three. And so North Carolina is a pillar of America as far as history and was one of the first states founded. Likewise, North Carolina was the first state to vote independence from Great Britain. And so it doesn't get much more American than seceding from Great Britain. So, and they initiated that. Lastly, culturally, I've already mentioned urban and rural mix. That kind of is cultural. Republican, Democrat split, that's kind of cultural. But how about sports? Sports is a huge part of culture in America, a big part of its identity as well. And Iowa and what's the other one? Virginia. They lack the big important aspect of America's identity, that is sports. North Carolina does not. It has some of America's greatest sports, including, if you go back a few episodes, one of America's greatest rivalries. In fact, one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports, North Carolina versus Duke, college basketball. But it also has pro teams in Charlotte, the Panthers and the Hornets. And so all those things are why North Carolina is the most American state.
2 monologues in one night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Whew,
Joe, I would
good.
love to
It feels
hear.
good.
Joe, I'd love to hear that fourth point that you left us on the cliffhanger there.
Oh, I will
Can
get
I
there,
guess what it is, Joe?
Well, it's multiple things, but sure. What do you think?
I think it's astronauts.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's part of it. So, first I'll go through my first three, okay?
guess.
So the 3 things that I said, geez, I don't even remember them. One of them was hard work, though. And let me tell you, nothing is more hardworking than the Midwest. And nothing shows a harder work ethic than farming. And let me tell you, if you want to embody hard work, how about you talk about taking a landmass and making it into something? Because 92% of Iowa is farmland, and that is an impressive number. And you know what else? Iowans make 30% of the nation's, like, hog, pork, sausage, makes 19% of the nation's corn, and 17% of the nation's soybeans. Those are all the highest values out of any other states. Soybeans varies based on years, but some years Iowa makes the most. Those are 3 staples of the American diet. And if you don't believe me, you can go ahead and walk to any fast food thing and see how many pig references or cow references are on there. And then the second thing is, I think it was patriotism. Dang, honestly, I don't remember my second one.
That's not good.
Freedom, hard work, and politics.
Freedom. That's right. Freedom. Same thing. America, Iowa has one of the most patriotic flags of all time, with an eagle carrying a flag that says, "Our rights we will maintain and our liberties we prize." Actually, it's the other way around. It's "Our liberties we prize and our rights we maintain." And it's also red, white, and blue. Iowa also has 99 counties. Every one has a rock that has been hand painted by an artist with a patriotic design, which is pretty cool. So 99 counties, 99 patriotic rocks, which is pretty interesting. And then we move on to politics. And let me tell you, when you think what state most determines a political race, the first thing they think of is Iowa, because it's the first caucus in the race for a presidential candidate. And it's often viewed as one of the most crucial states to get. And that's why politicians spend so much time there recruiting people. And it's also a swing state. Year to year, it varies between red and blue. And I think that's pretty representative of the American population as well. But let's get to that great other category that you've all been waiting for. There was a study done that basically took a few very interesting categories, including bald eagles per square mile, Olympic gold medals won, astronauts born in each state, fast food restaurants per capita, Major League Baseball teams born in each state, percentage of home with firearms, and Google searches for Bin Laden dead, which is my personal favorite. and the average of all of those, they found that the number 1 state in America was Iowa. And that's what makes it such a great state.
You know that Joe is just spouting BS whenever he starts saying, "Well, let me tell you." Like,
I was thinking the same thing.
Every other phrase.
Okay, I got to sneak in some stuff while it's still fresh on the debate. I'm looking at a website called kff.org that ranks the states by the percentage populations of different ethnicities, and I'm seeing that North Carolina actually has 61%, while Texas has 43%. So Jared was incorrect in...
All right, let me respond then. As of... I'm not sure what you said your source, but I've never heard of them before. My source is the United States Census Bureau.
Well, mine is
my source is the United States Census Bureau.
Census Bureau. KFF.
Yes.
Okay, well, so...
And... The numbers are official from the Census Bureau. Let me find
Mine
Texas.
are official from this website.
Okay,
Let
right.
me finish my points first.
Let
me finish my points first. We have the exact same percentage of the black population and only 1% difference of Asian population, differing from the United States total, showing that there is a deep similarity in demographics, as well as we are the next state below the U.S. average in median income. So even with the median income, we're very similar to the United States as an average. The other aspects I want to kind of harp on will come after I first address what Jared said about North Carolina and geography, because Texas has everything that he listed. We also have snow and hills, so you can ski, but we also have plains, which you said you don't have. We have a canyon, the second biggest canyon in the States. We also have coast, we have islands, we have pine forests, we have lakes, we have massive cities, we have a border, and we have desert, and many more. So Texas is a very diverse landmass, but I think there's also kind of a shared kind of experience that Texas has with America, first of all, in that it fought for its own independence and spent time as an independent nation. So that is definitely a deep tie that the states have to the great USA, but also kind of this notion of being the dark horse among its peers. I think everyone likes to kind of bag on Texas and say they're so cocky and, oh man, they just love Texas so much. But that's also what people across the pond are saying about the United States. And I think as Americans, we can all agree it's just because there's a little bit of jealousy among the world for all of the great things that America has to enjoy. And
No, it's because Texas sucks.
that is a great
absolutely.
argument, my friend. With that, I guess I'm dumbfounded. I have no response to that, and I guess I'll pass it on.
So, like I said before, I want to address just being patriotic. I think that's something Virginia is the best at. And according to many sites I saw, the reason why we are is because combining the ranking in military engagement and civic engagement, so basically involvement in politics such as voting, things like that, caring about the future of America, basically. Combining those two things, we are ranked number 1. In military engagement, we are ranked 5th, and civic engagement ranked 10th. Also, Virginia is the state with the highest population of veterans. America prides itself on its military and its veterans, and I think that is an important value that comes with being American. And if our veterans find that Virginia is the state that they want to be in, or a large percentage of them want to be in Virginia, I think that makes it a lot more American. Next, going off of history, I find Virginia to be a lot more historical than the other 3. If you look at landmarks alone, historic landmarks, Virginia has 121 historic landmarks, while Texas has 47, North Carolina has 38, and Iowa has 26. I think that shows how much has happened in Virginia that is American history, and how much culture has come from that history.
Is that including Iowa's 99 patriotic rocks?
No, Joe.
Well, since
those
the number
aren't
26,
historic.
I'm assuming it's not.
Maybe it should be 125.
Interesting point, Joe. But no. Another thing I wanted to bring up, Jacob, with your whole independence of Texas, I might be getting this wrong, and I'm sure you'll say I'll be getting this wrong, but I feel like that is trying to get yourself away from America, which, if you're trying to love America and be more American, why would you want to be independent? Which is something that I don't fully understand, but maybe I'm getting that wrong. If you want to correct me, that's fine. Another thing, I am not jealous of Texans. I used to like Texas a lot, and I had never been there, and I was curious because of how much hype I had heard of it. And when I went, I was wildly disappointed. Maybe that was because my guide did not do the best job, but I was not very pleased. I remember a thing that he said. We were driving through a town. It was in Dallas, and we were driving through a town, and he said, "Oh, there's a hardware we have." And he pointed at it, and he's like, "This is a Texas hardware store," and it was an Ace Hardware. Pretty sure that's not just Texas. That just made me feel like Texans are pretty blind to the rest of the country. And maybe that, again, that may have just been generalizing, which is not fair, and saying that was just a poor guide. But it rubbed me the wrong way. So that is my issue with Texas.
Jacob, the other 3 participants each gave their definition of American. You didn't really give it as clear of a definition.
I'm sorry.
Do you have one?
I did mention this. I might not have made it as clear. I am basing my argument on how strong the similarities are between the state and the country. So I found those very similar demographic notes, found that it contains all those different geographical landforms, and also kind of a cultural identity that is very similar to the United States when compared to its peers.
All right. Very good coverage, all of you, on your states. How about we go into final 1-minute statements? And then I think from those, I can come to my decision on the winner. Let's start with Jared.
Okay. Throughout this argument, really, Jacob and Drake mainly have attempted to prove that, for example, Texas is more geographically representative of America, and Drake that Virginia is more historically representative of America. And because of Texas's size and Virginia's, history, I can't argue that too much, but here's what I can say. LeBron James is not the best at any one skill in basketball, and yet he is widely regarded, universally regarded as the best basketball player in the world. So it's not that North Carolina is the very best at all of the things I listed, or is the most American demographically, geographically, historically, and culturally. It's that when you sum them all up, it is. I'll stop there. I won't repeat my points. That's what I got.
All right, let's hear Iowa.
All right. Jared, you mentioned geography. How about the middle of the freaking country? That's what Iowa is. But more importantly, Drake, you made the point that Texas, why would they rebel against their nation? Well, how about this? The three of you all pick states that fought for the South in the Civil War. Iowa fought for the Union. That's about as American as it comes, not trying to break away from our nation. We produce all of your food. You're welcome. And we have most of your astronauts. You're also welcome. And finally, we determine what politicians end up sitting in the White House. So finally, you're welcome.
Okay, Drake.
I just want to revisit the point about being a patriotic state. And I think that is the thing that I have been harping on the most today. And that is that Virginia has shown that they're top in combined of military engagement and civic engagement. And I think those are two incredibly important things when you think about America, because we think about supporting our troops and we think about being involved in politics and we think about caring about, the political future and the social future of this country. And I think that Virginia being atop of that list has shown how American they are through their patriotism and their history.
Jacob.
Sure. Big Joe, I don't think those astronauts could have made it to space without all of the support from NASA in Houston. I'll say I think second place should go to Drake because that is a great setup and a great definition he made, but it's just not getting quite to as well-rounded of a similarity between America and the state. And I think I just one up Jared on everything that he had to say about North Carolina. I feel like the last thing I need to do is clarify. Texas won its independence from Mexico and gladly joined the United States. And I feel like a lot of the state pride is just that state pride, which in and of itself is a very American thing. But I feel like that is an anecdotal note. I've presented the figures and the philosophical ideas and a strong case for why Texas is the most American state, and I stand by it.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Well, I know who's in fourth place. The next three aren't quite as solid in my mind as of this second, but I'm going to have to give fourth place to you, Jacob. And that is because you threw out some demographic stats, and Jared kind of told me those weren't true. North Carolina has less white people, which I'm not saying is more American, but that one of your points was proven wrong. You tried to say that is more geographically different than North Carolina. Maybe they're about the same, but as far as points go, I don't think that was very good either. Saying that they fought for their independence from America as a point is completely defeating the fact that the state's American.
That's literally,
I think that's the
that's
complete
literally
opposite.
not what I said, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Well, you were saying that they fought for their independence and that was an American thing, which I completely disagree with. And so does the other people arguing in this debate. And I thought that Drake's point, I know it's a one person, but I thought it was interesting that the story about how some Texans can be ignorant about what goes on in other states. And I don't know. That's kind of a vibe you get from some people. I'm not saying it's you, but
Jacob getting shot down.
That's why I'm giving you fourth place.
It only further proves my point that these other states kind of have it out for Texas, much like the other nations of the world have it out for America.
I'm going to give third place to you, Jared. I am sorry.
It's all right.
And this is why. You had some good points, like over 1,000 ships being sunk on the coast. Very American.
That was
yeah. Queen Anne's Revenge, baby.
But I liked your points about the political diversity. That was a good point. You talked about the history, it being one of the 13 original colonies, but I feel like on the history front, Drake has more that he talked about on that side of things.
He does, but he didn't have sports.
I'm giving you third. So it comes down to Virginia and Iowa, and based on the arguments, I'm giving it to Drake.
What?
And I'll tell you why. Joe, I liked your Google search argument. Very good fun fact. 99 patriotic rocks. That's very impressive. The flag, I don't think that's that big of a deal. Your points that were valid were the hardworking and farming. I do think that's American and is kind of what helped build up the country as a whole. But I think Drake's points were just more American in general. The highest veteran population. Obviously, they're doing something right there to take care of them. And those people are the most American of us defending the country in the great wars of the 20th century. And the high civic engagement and all the landmarks and just the vast history that is in Virginia from the forming of this country. I think that Drake made some good points, and that's why he is the winner.
Woo, hooray, Drake.
Well done, Drake.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good arguments, everyone. I enjoyed listening to them.
Good judging, Big D.
It was fun. Very fun.
Nothing from Joe.
Except for me.
Okay, thank you, listeners, for tuning in this week. We will see you in 2 weeks from now, every other Friday. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Can I say one thing before we sign off?
Sure.
The debate idea for greatest fast food chain was brought to us by avid listener Jackson Goodspeed. So feel free to submit your debate ideas.
Shout out.
Oh, yes,
shout out
thank
Mr.
you.
Goodspeed.
Thank you for that shout out. And the offer still stands. If you leave us a 5-star review on iTunes with a creative positive review, I will read the most creative one on the following episode. Thank you, Drake, for coming back all the way from the spring of 2016, I believe.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
And thank you, my co-hosts, for returning once again.
Happy to do it.
Swag.
You bet.
All right. We'll see you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So long.
Thanks for listening to Hostel Discourse. Subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. And check out our other social media accounts linked in the show notes. Join us next time for more inexhaustible debate over the most questionable of topics.